Welcome to Inner Focus, where we break down the trends and choices shaping our world. I'm Emily Davis. In this episode, with my co-host Michael Brown, we're diving into a crucial question. What's happening with diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI? In recent years, DEI has become a significant rallying cry for progress in workplaces and communities. However, we've seen companies like Walmart and others scaling back their efforts. Some view this as a necessary financial move or a response to political pressure, while others fear it may reverse decades of progress toward equality. So, what's really at stake? How have these policies reshaped our workplaces, and what could happen if they disappear? Join us as we explore the benefits, the backlash, and the broader implications, together. And don't forget to subscribe to Inner Focus for more insights on the trends that matter. Welcome to our deep dive, everybody. We're going to be tackling DEI policies today.
DEI policies, yeah.
DEI. You sent us some fascinating stuff.
Yeah.
A paper called DEI Policies, a deep dive into their evolution, benefits, and future.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to try to extract some of the key ideas for you today and see what's really going on.
Right.
And, I think what's really interesting is that you sent this in, and then we have this huge current event with Walmart.
Oh, absolutely.
Stepping back from their DEI commitments.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely touch on that, but let's step back for a second. I mean, DEI has become such a hot button issue.
It really has.
But it's fascinating to think that it has its roots.
Oh, yeah.
Way back in the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
It goes way back. That's right. And to your point, the Civil Rights Act was a huge moment and a major turning point, outlawing discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. But I think a key thing to remember here is that DEI isn't just a legal thing.
Right.
It's not just checking boxes.
Yeah.
This is about creating a workplace and a society that really embraces everyone.
And what's so interesting, too, is there's that McKinsey study
Right.
that found that companies with more diverse leadership teams are actually, they said, 35% more likely to outperform financially.
35%, yeah.
So there's a real business case here, too.
Oh, absolutely. That's the big takeaway here. It's not just like, oh, this is the right thing to do. Like ethically, morally, of course it is.
Right.
But it's also the smart thing to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
For your business. And what's fascinating about that McKinsey study is they found that diverse teams bring a wider range of perspectives. They have different lived experiences. And that leads to more creative problem solving, a better understanding of your customer base. Because guess what?
Yeah.
Your customer base is diverse.
Right.
So if you have people in the room who reflect that, you're going to be much better at understanding their needs. And ultimately that translates to innovation, better products.
Right.
And ultimately a stronger bottom line.
Yeah. And this also reminds me of all the research on employee engagement.
Yeah.
That shows that when employees feel included and valued,
Oh, absolutely.
they're more productive, they're more innovative,
Right.
they're more committed to the company.
Exactly. That's, when people feel like they belong, when they feel seen and heard, they're going to bring their best selves to work. And that's going to benefit everyone.
Absolutely. So, we can really see the benefits here, but I'm curious about how we actually measure the success of these DEI initiatives. Are we seeing real, tangible improvements, or is it just a lot of talk?
Yeah. That's the million-dollar question. Right?
Yeah.
How do we know if this is actually working?
Right.
Well, we are seeing some progress.
Yeah.
For example, there's been an increase in the representation of women and minorities in leadership roles, although it's been kind of slow. It's not happening as quickly as we'd like, perhaps. But companies like General Motors, for example, have actually achieved gender parity on their board of directors.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But the real challenge, the real key here, I think, is moving beyond just counting heads.
Right.
It's not just about hitting certain numbers. It's about creating a culture where everyone feels like they truly belong.
Yeah.
It's not just, we have X number of women on the board.
Right.
But it's, do those women feel empowered?
Yeah.
Do they feel like they can contribute? Do they feel like their voices are being heard? That's the real measure of success.
So true. So, okay. Well, that brings us to, this really interesting current event, I guess we could call it.
Yeah.
With Walmart.
Walmart.
making the decision to kind of scale back their DEI efforts,
Mm-hmm.
which has caused quite a bit of a stir.
A lot of controversy, a lot of questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you walk us through some of the key changes they've made?
Sure. So one of the biggest changes is that they're ending their financial commitment to the Racial Equity Center,
Okay.
which was a substantial commitment. They had been putting a lot of money and resources into that.
Yeah.
And they've also shifted their language, which is interesting. They've moved away from using the term DEI,
Okay.
and they're now using the term belonging. And to some, that might seem like a subtle shift,
Right.
but it actually reflects a potentially significant change in focus.
Okay.
And they're also scaling back their participation in some specific diversity initiatives.
Okay. So, I mean, what do you make of this?
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
It's really hard to say definitively what's driving this decision. I mean, some people are speculating that it's purely a cost-cutting measure,
Right.
that they're trying to save money, and they're using this kind of strategic shift as a way to do that.
Yeah.
But others are saying, no, this is, there's a deeper philosophical shift happening here.
Right.
And it's important to consider the larger context, right?
Yeah.
We're in a moment where DEI is becoming increasingly politicized. And, there's this whole debate about, woke culture.
Right.
And whether companies are going too far in their DEI efforts.
So they're trying to kind of walk this tightrope.
They're trying to walk this tightrope.
Yeah.
And it's a really difficult tightrope to walk.
Right.
Because they have to be mindful of their bottom line,
Yeah.
right? They have to keep their shareholders happy.
Of course.
But they also have to be responsive to the needs of their employees, their customers, and the larger society.
Right. So it's a very complex situation.
It's very complex, and it raises a lot of questions. I mean, can companies effectively address systemic inequality while also prioritizing shareholder value?
Right. Right.
Are those two things even compatible?
Right. And I'm curious, what do you think are some of the potential consequences of this decision, both for Walmart and for just DEI in general?
Well, I think for Walmart, one of the biggest risks is reputational damage. They could really hurt their brand by being seen as backing away from DEI. And they could also lose talent, especially among marginalized groups who might feel like, okay, well, Walmart's not really committed to us anymore, so why should we stay here?
Right, right.
And then, beyond that, there's the potential impact on their ability to innovate and compete in a global marketplace, which is, becoming increasingly diverse.
Of course.
So if they're not attracting and retaining diverse talent, they're going to be at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
And then I think the broader implication here is that this could signal a broader corporate retreat from DEI.
Oh.
Other companies might be watching Walmart
Right.
and saying, well, if they can get away with scaling back, maybe we can too.
Yeah.
And that could really set us back
Yeah.
in terms of the progress that we've made on DEI.
That's concerning.
Very concerning. And that's why I think it's so important to have these conversations.
Yeah.
To really critically examine the motivations and the potential consequences of decisions like this, and to explore potential solutions and alternative approaches.
Yeah. And, before we move on to kind of what the future of all this looks like and those alternative approaches and other companies who are doing great work,
Yeah.
I want to point this out. I want to highlight this for our listeners that, while Walmart is making these decisions and grabbing headlines, there are countless other companies
Absolutely.
who are doing fantastic work in DEI.
Quietly making a difference.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily in the news every day, but they're committed
That's right.
to creating equitable and inclusive workplaces, and they're making real progress.
And those are the stories we need to hear more about, I think.
Absolutely.
It's easy to get discouraged when you see something like the Walmart news. But it's important to remember that there are still a lot of people and a lot of organizations out there who are fighting the good fight.
And we need to learn from them.
Absolutely.
Right. We need to learn from, what's working, what's not working, and use that to continue to push for more progress.
Exactly. Both the successes and the failures. We can learn from everything.
Exactly.
And that's what's so great about this, deep dive that we're doing.
Yeah.
Is that, it's not just about summarizing the information. It's about analyzing it, connecting the dots.
Yeah.
Extracting those key insights.
Absolutely.
That we can all use to inform our own actions and decisions.
Okay, so Everybody, join us for part 2 of our deep dive, where we're going to explore all those exciting innovations and evolving strategies
Get future of DEI.
that are shaping the future of DEI.
I'll see you there.
See you there. So we talked about some of the challenges and controversies surrounding DEI. Now I'm really curious to explore, what's next? What are some of the trends shaping the future of DEI?
Well, one of the really cool things that's happening is technology is starting to play a bigger role
Oh, okay.
in helping us implement data-driven DEI strategies. Like we were talking about, measuring those outcomes, really seeing what...
It's data-driven DEI. I like the sound of that. Can you give me an example?
Yeah, absolutely. So think about the rise of all these AI-powered tools that are being developed. Things that can help organizations identify and mitigate bias in their hiring processes, for example.
Okay, yeah.
Like there are algorithms out there that can analyze job descriptions
Right.
for gendered language, which we know
Right.
can subtly discourage certain groups from applying.
So it's like these tools can help us see those things that we don't even realize we're doing.
Yeah, those hidden biases, those unconscious biases that we all have.
Right.
But technology can help us bring them to light. And there are platforms out there that use data analytics to actually track diversity metrics throughout a company so you can see, like in real time, what your representation looks like at all levels, not just in leadership, which is huge because for so long we've been relying on, these outdated reports or just assumptions.
Right. Right.
But now we can actually have hard data to inform our decisions and measure progress.
So it's not just anecdotal anymore. Like we have the number.
We have the numbers, we can see what's happening, but it's not just about the numbers either.
Okay.
Technology can also help us make workplaces more inclusive and accessible.
Okay.
So, for example, there are virtual reality tools being used to simulate the experiences of people with disabilities.
Oh, wow.
Which is amazing because it can help foster empathy and understanding among employees who might not have those lived experiences themselves.
It's incredible. It sounds like technology has the potential to really, really be a driver for change in DEI.
It does. But I think the key is, and this is important to remember, is that technology is a tool.
Mm-hmm.
And like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad. So we need to be really mindful of how we're using it. We need to use it ethically and responsibly and make sure that it's not inadvertently perpetuating or amplifying existing biases.
Right. It's not a replacement for human judgment.
No, exactly. It's about augmenting our understanding, helping us make more informed decisions.
Right. And speaking of human judgment, what about the role of leadership in all of this?
Well, leadership is huge.
Yeah.
It's absolutely critical. I mean, it's not enough to just have diverse faces in leadership positions.
Right.
We need leaders who are actually equipped with the skills and knowledge to foster inclusive environments. We need inclusive leaders.
So what does inclusive leadership look like in practice?
Yeah, it's about creating a culture where everyone feels valued, genuinely valued for their unique contributions. It's about creating a sense of belonging, about actively mitigating bias, empowering people to contribute their best.
Yeah.
And that requires a real mindset shift, I think. Moving away from those traditional, top-down leadership styles.
Right.
To something that's more collaborative.
Yeah.
More empathetic, more about listening.
Yeah, bringing everyone along.
Exactly. And that actually kind of brings us to another really important aspect of all of this, which is global DEI. We had touched on it a little bit earlier.
Yeah. How are multinational companies kind of navigating the complexities of DEI when they have, employees all over the world?
It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah.
I mean, for one thing, cultural differences.
Right.
You can't just have a one-size-fits-all approach to DEI. What might be considered, effective or appropriate in one country could be totally different in another country.
So it's not just about translating your policies. It's like you have to really understand the nuances.
You got to understand the nuances, the cultural context.
Yeah.
And then you have to layer on top of that the fact that legal frameworks and regulations related to diversity and equity vary so widely from country to country. What might be considered discriminatory in one place might be totally legal in another place.
It adds a whole other level of complexity.
Oh, absolutely. So companies need to be really aware of those differences. They need to do their research.
Right.
They need to adapt their strategies accordingly. It's not easy.
It's like global DEI requires even more flexibility and adaptability than domestic DEI in a sense.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
It's a constant process of learning and evolving.
Right.
but the benefits are huge, right?
Yeah.
Because if you can get this right, you can attract top talent from all over the world. You can strengthen your brand globally. You can gain a competitive edge in new markets.
So it's really worth it to do it right.
It really is.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Data-driven DEI, inclusive leadership, the global complexities. What else is on your radar?
Oh, there's so much happening. It's such a dynamic field.
Yeah.
But one thing that I think is becoming really important, and it's something to watch, is this intersection of DEI with ESG, which for our listeners who might not be familiar, that stands for environmental, social, and governance.
Okay, ESG.
Yeah, ESG. And these are the criteria that a lot of investors and consumers are using to kind of measure a company's sustainability, their social impact. Are they doing good in the world?
Okay.
And what's interesting is that DEI is starting to become part of the S in ESG.
So it's not just a separate thing anymore.
It's becoming integrated. Investors are looking at this. Consumers are looking at this. They want to know, how are companies addressing diversity? How are they treating their employees? Are they committed to ethical business practices?
It's like DEI is no longer this nice-to-have thing.
It's becoming a must-have.
It's becoming essential.
If you want to be seen as a responsible, sustainable business in the 21st century, you need to have a strong DEI game.
That's a powerful statement. So what are some concrete steps that companies can take to create those truly inclusive and equitable workplaces?
Well, it all starts with leadership commitment.
Okay.
This cannot be just another HR initiative.
Right.
Leaders need to be actively championing DEI. They need to invest resources. They need to hold themselves and others accountable.
It's walking the walk.
It's walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And it's about building a culture of belonging where everyone feels welcome, respected, valued for their unique contribution.
Okay.
And that can involve things like implementing blind recruitment processes, so you're removing bias from the hiring process, offering mentorship programs, creating employee resource groups where people can connect with others who share similar backgrounds or experiences.
Right.
So there are a lot of different things that companies can do, but ultimately it's not just about the policies and programs. It's about creating a mindset shift.
Yeah.
It's about a genuine understanding and appreciation for diversity.
And realizing that diversity is not just a box to check.
No, it's a source of strength.
Yeah.
It's a source of innovation. And it's about moving beyond just tolerance to genuine inclusion and belonging.
Well said. And it's a journey, right?
It's a journey.
It's not like you just arrive at DEI.
No, it's ongoing.
It's constant reflection.
Yeah.
Dialogue, willingness to challenge our own biases and assumptions.
Absolutely. We're all in a learning journey when it comes to this.
Well, this has been a great conversation. And in the final part of our deep dive, we're going to dig even deeper. We're going to look at the latest research, best practices, the most innovative approaches that companies are taking to create more inclusive and equitable workplaces. We've talked about the challenges, the controversies, some of the innovations that are happening. I'm really excited now to talk about the companies that are doing really cool, innovative stuff.
Yeah, the cutting edge.
Yeah, the companies that are pushing the boundaries, getting creative to make a difference in DEI. What are some of those things you're seeing?
Well, one of the things that I think is really exciting is the focus on inclusive leadership development. It's not just about training anymore.
Yeah.
Right? It's about creating a culture where inclusive leadership is actually valued, rewarded, encouraged.
So like what does that actually look like? What are companies doing?
Well, one example is some companies are implementing like 360-degree feedback systems.
Okay. Yeah.
That actually incorporate DEI-related metrics. So this means that leaders are being evaluated not just on their, traditional business performance.
Right.
But also on their ability to create inclusive teams, mentor diverse talent, demonstrate cultural sensitivity, all those things that we were talking about before.
So they're really being held accountable.
They're being held accountable.
Yeah.
And it's sending a really powerful message. Inclusive leadership matters. This is a core competency for success in our organization. And we're also seeing a lot of experimentation with mentorship and sponsorship.
Okay.
Like, for example, these reverse mentoring programs.
Reverse mentoring.
Have you heard of these?
No.
So these are programs where junior employees from underrepresented groups are actually mentoring senior leaders.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So they're providing them with insights into their lived experiences, their perspectives on things.
So it's kind of like flipping the script on traditional mentoring.
Exactly.
Right.
Flipping the script. And it's so powerful.
Yeah.
Because, the senior leader gets those valuable insights. into what it's like to be, from a different background,
Right.
working in that organization.
Yeah.
And the junior employee, they get access to this powerful network and advocate within the organization.
Yeah, it's win-win.
It is. It's a win-win situation. And it's just, it's such a great example of creating those opportunities for people from different backgrounds, different generations, different levels of the organization to connect with each other, to learn from each other. And that's what DEI is all about.
And it speaks to this need to really learn from different perspectives, have those open conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another area where we're seeing a lot of innovation is kind of going back to this data thing.
Right.
We talked about data-driven DEI, but it's not just about collecting data.
No.
It's about using it.
It's about using it. It's about telling a story with the data.
Right.
Making a compelling case.
Right.
For DEI and tracking progress over time.
Yeah.
Because we all love to see that progress.
Yeah, so it's not just numbers on a page, but it's like using the data to say, okay, this is where we are, this is where we need to go, and this is how we're going to get there.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are some examples of how companies are doing that?
Well, some companies are creating these really cool DEI dashboards.
Okay.
Where they can track key metrics, like representation at different levels, employee engagement scores, the effectiveness of their training programs, all in one place, like a DEI command center.
Oh, wow. So they can actually see what's working, what's not working.
They can see the trends. They can see the progress or lack of progress, and then make decisions.
Right. Informed decisions.
Exactly. Informed decisions based on the data. And this also allows them to be more transparent.
Yeah.
Which I think is really important, both internally with their employees and externally with their stakeholders and the public.
Yeah, it's not just hiding it all away.
No. Be open about it. Share the data. Share the story. And that transparency can actually be really powerful because it builds trust. It shows that you're serious about DEI.
Right.
You're not just paying lip service to it.
Yeah, you're taking real action. As we kind of wrap up our deep dive here, I want to touch on something that we haven't explicitly talked about, but it's kind of been woven throughout our whole conversation.
Okay.
And that's the human element of all this.
Oh, yeah, the human element. The heart of DEI. Because at the end of the day, it's all about people.
Yeah.
It's about creating a workplace, a world where everyone feels valued, respected, empowered to bring their full selves to work, Yeah. Where they don't have to hide who they are.
That sense of belonging, that feeling of being seen and heard and knowing that your voice matters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And celebrating those differences, right?
Yes.
Because our differences are not a liability.
Right.
They are an asset.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when we can harness that power of those diverse perspectives, amazing things can happen. We can drive innovation. We can be more creative. We can solve problems in new ways. And ultimately, we can create a more just and equitable world.
Well said. I think we've covered so much today. It's been such an interesting journey exploring all the different facets of DEI, from the history, the challenges, the technology that's changing things, the companies that are doing such great work. It's been really inspiring.
It has been.
So to you, our listeners, thank you so much for joining us. We hope you've learned some valuable insights today, maybe sparked some new ideas, a renewed sense of purpose. But remember, DEI is not a destination. It's an ongoing journey. We're all learning and growing and transforming, and we need to do this together, one step at a time.
Absolutely. It's a collective effort.
Yeah. So thanks for being part of it.
Until next time.
See you next time.